Extreme weather events are on the rise, animal and insect populations are under threat across the world, and sea levels are rising. Our planet is getting slowly hotter thanks to our love affair with fossil fuels, with devastating consequences. But according to my guest today, it's not too late to change course. I'm joined now by Jeremy Rifkin, economic and social theorist and author of many books, including your latest, The Green New Deal, Why the Fossil Fuel Civilization Will Collapse by 2028, and the bold economic plan to save life on Earth. Thank you very much for coming in to speak to us here at France 24. For those of us not familiar with the term, what exactly is the Green New Deal?
It's an aspirational document that has now gotten lots of attention because in the United States, during this election, all the major candidates in the Democratic Party have called for a Green New Deal. It's patterned after the New Deal of the 1930s, where we were in a depression, and the federal government and President Roosevelt initiated massive programs to try to change the economy and get people back to work. In this case, the Green New Deal has to do with moving quickly out of a fossil fuel civilization, because we are in a climate event. We are in an extinction event, and most people don't know about this. This is the most important moment in human history. We've had 5 mass extinction over the history of this planet, way before humans were here, where life died out. We're now in the 6th extinction event, and I want parents to hear this. Our scientists tell us we could lose half the species of life inhabiting this planet in 8 decades. The last time we had an extinction event like this was 65 million years ago. So our children are out on the streets, and they're saying, we need a climate emergency. We need a Green New Deal. The book, The Green New Deal, is based on my experience helping both the leadership of the European Union and China develop Green New Deal style transitions. The good news is the fossil fuel civilization is collapsing in real time. And the reason is the price of solar and wind are now cheaper as of this year than fossil fuels, coal, oil, gas, and nuclear. So what's happened is we have trillions of dollars of stranded assets in the fossil fuel industry, upwards of 100 trillion.
And what exactly are stranded assets for those not familiar with the term?
Well, when solar and wind gets cheaper, it means all of the existing assets won't be used. Power plants that'll be abandoned, exploration rights that you paid for you'll never pay off, oil and coal and gas you'll never take out of the ground, refineries that will never be used. This is the biggest bubble in history. It's a carbon bubble. So because they're no longer market feasible, solar and wind are cheaper, trillions of dollars have come out already of the fossil fuel industries because they don't want to be stranded with the possibility that their investments will crash. So this is the good news. We're getting out of fossil fuels in the market. But the big but is we have to build up a 3rd industrial revolution infrastructure in every city and region of the world very quickly in the next 10 years, or else we're going to be in trouble.
And how do you go about that? It's a huge question, of course.
The 3rd industrial revolution brings together 3 components every civilization needs in order to manage economic life. A new communication revolution, we have that, the internet. Now we're going to see that internet converge with a new energy revolution. We have millions of people now producing their own solar and wind, and what they're not using, they're sending it back to a digitized energy internet using the same big data and analytics we use to share entertainment and news on the communication internet. Now those 2 internets are converging with a 3rd internet, a mobility internet made of electric vehicles, fuel cell vehicles, powered by solar and wind from the energy internet. The vehicles will be autonomous with no drivers in the next few years, and those 3 internets together take us off fossil fuels, brings us into the new energies, the new technologies, and create millions and millions of jobs and new businesses. The key, though, is every region and community has to build out this smart Green New Deal 3rd industrial revolution.
And that requires extraordinarily joined up thinking. How do you get different governments, different nation states around the world to come together on this project?
Well, I've been privileged to develop the formal plan with the European Union, and it's called Smart Europe. So we're on board there. And I've also been privileged to work with the leadership of the People's Republic of China, and our plan there is China Internet Plus. The interesting thing is the money is there. because trillions of dollars have come out of the fossil fuel industry because they don't want their investments to be lost, especially public pension funds. Millions and millions of workers' money, trillions, are now investing, and they desperately want to invest in this third industrial revolution in the regions around the world. The problem is all these local cities around the world, they have little pilot projects, a hydrogen bus, a nice zero-emission building, but they need huge infrastructure deployment plans so all of the money that's leaving fossil fuels can invest. They're desperate to invest. So the key is the cities and the regions. They're going to have to lay out these plans. We've done it with one region in France, Hauts-de-France. My global group's there on 6 years there with your industrial region, and they're about ready to scale up. That's the old mining region and the Rust Belt, but it's the industrial region of France. They're a very good poster child for this. Other regions need to do this very quickly. And I think what I'd like to say to everybody listening to me now, this is not just one of many priorities. This is a moment where we're determining whether the human race will have a future on this planet in this century of your children and grandchildren. And we have to wake up. And so I would urge everyone in their communities, declare a climate emergency and get your local region to create a Green New Deal transformation. The book has all the kinds of ways it can be deployed and the business opportunities that come out of it.
Now, you mentioned just now that you work closely with China on this. What are the ways in which it's different working with somewhere like China compared to, say, Western democracies when it comes to trying to implement this New Deal?
Well, you know, some of it's very similar. The technology is the same in both places.
I'm talking more about the political
deployment. It's interesting because everywhere we do this, it has to be localities and regions. No central government can do something this magnitude to transform every community. And every community in the country has to be resistant to climate attacks. The climate now, the storms, the hurricanes, the wildfires, the floods. So even in China, the regions are very competitive, just like our regions here. So every region's always looking at every other region to be best in show. So in that sense, national governments will create the codes, the regulations, the standards, and the incentives, but the localities and the regions around the world where people live their lives have to prepare for a climate world. They have to involve large amounts of citizens in being engaged every single day from here on out. This is not going to go away. This is going to get worse.
Now, this is, of course, a huge project. Are you optimistic about our ability collectively to implement what we need to achieve those goals?
I have to tell you, I'm only guardedly hopeful. I've been involved in this for 45 years. Even I didn't realize the enormity of how this is spreading and damaging ecosystems and people's lives around the world. I'll say this. We think we can get a technology infrastructure, third industrial revolution, Green New Deal infrastructure in every region within 10 years, a juvenile infrastructure, and another 10, a mature infrastructure. And let's remember, we're the most social creature. We have the biggest neocortex. Human beings are capable, when there's a crisis, of coming together and do this. We put the first industrial revolution in the 19th century in 30 years. We put the second industrial revolution infrastructure in the 20th century in 25. We should be able to do this in 20, but people have to focus and not go off on tangents and see for their children and grandchildren. This is the only mission for us at this point.
Ending with something of a rallying cry. Thank you very much indeed, Jeremy Rifkin, author of The Green New Deal, Why the Fossil Fuel Civilization Will Collapse by 2028, and the bold economic plan to save life on Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you.